Milo, how are you?
Rachel, hey, it's lovely to see you. How you doing?
Nice to see you. I'm doing great. So to start, I want to ask you, with a show like this where I love that USA has so many different lawyer shows and they're all so different but have a very similar kind of vibe because that's what we come to that network for. How was
Mm.
it getting to make a show like this, as original as it is, while still also fitting in with the USA kind of vibe as a whole?
It was really a gift, Rachel. I mean, I felt like we really went out, we did our own thing. But you're right, it has the honor of standing on the shoulders of the giants that preceded it. And um it was really fun to pay homage to that, but also to make sure that we were creating our own space.
When I have to ask you this question, because I asked Robin it, it's very fun for me to watch British kind of lawyer shows because the legal system in England is so different from our own. And so, how was it coming into a show like this where you have to know the US legal system, especially with a character like yours, and kind of figuring out the differences between the two?
Yeah, fun. I was excited to do it. A lot like my prep sort of was split between the character and the dialect and the emotion, and then just quite a rigorously academic approach to the American legal system and thinking about what it would, and sort of talking to lawyers and attorneys and yeah, it was a good time.
When you also have the addition of it being a John Grisham novel and already a movie that existed, and so I always like to ask actors, what was your approach like with the adaptation process of it? Did you try and read the book or watch the movie or do anything, or did you want it to be as authentic to the script that you guys were given without any of that?
I felt like it was important to honor the lineage of the character. So yeah, I watched the film and then I read the book throughout the first couple of weeks of filming. Because I think, you know, there's one thing following a film and a book, but another following a Grisham film and then a Coppola film with Matt Damon. And, I was definitely, again, standing on Matt's shoulders in lots of ways. And I wanted to give that the time and space it deserved, which is about an evening. And then I wanted to throw it away and just stick to the script.
And with a show like this too, you get to play a character who runs hot, and I always feel like that's kind of fun to dive into because if you're not somebody who runs hot, you get to experience it, and if you are, it's like a release of tension. So how was it to get to, have those moments where he does things that you're like, why are you in a fight right now, or why are you doing this thing? But it's just because that's who he is as a person.
Do you know, it was a surprise for me. I know that sounds silly because there was a lot of action leaning in that direction, but it often surprised me how hot those moments felt and got. I think that's the part of me that's slightly different to him, is that I think I'm a little bit calmer in those. I hope so, anyway. In those, or I'd probably be not sitting here right now. I'd probably be in a county jail somewhere. But he, it was it was really fun and it was a surprise. It was part of letting everything around. It's part of doing the work and then letting everything around me unfold and to be affected by it. And quite often I felt the urge to bite back, uh, in just purely in advocating for him in the moment.
And I told the other room I studied acting in college, so I always like asking actors really kind of like specific questions about process. And so for you, what was the thing that kind of really helped you when you were figuring out like getting into character and who this man is? Like, was it a specific technique or a costume piece or a song or whatever? What thing really helped you understand the character?
That's a really good question. I always felt like there's always a part of the process that's missing in like prep for me, and it always falls into place when you're sat opposite the person on the first day. In this case, it was Maddie Eisman, who is like such a gift of an actress and was so fantastic. But it was really when she started talking in our first scene that it all kind of made sense to me. So I usually didn't get tense about it and waited until I was there and had the person opposite me. I also had quite great, I had great suits that they'd put me in that I would put. So when I'd put them on in the morning, you stand a certain way, and I had my brother's coin, which lived in my pocket, and that was something that I definitely felt and became something habitual. But from the off, it was just it was the people who filled in the story.
Well, I was gonna bring up the suits because you have to face off against John Slattery in a suit, which I'm like, I'm good actually. I would never attempt
You and
to
me
do
both.
that. I was like, I would never attempt to do that. But how was it, working with him and Lana with these two, like the two sides that he has to kind of deal with throughout the series and figuring out in that moment where he feels he has power when talking with them?
Yeah, I mean, as people, they're just so great, you know, like they're so kind. John is a complete charmer, has a lot of presence and was really generous with his time. And Lana similarly is just such a beautiful, open-hearted human. And then, they become Leo and Bruiser, and John's a scary Leo. Like he does it so naturally, and Lana similarly has brought so much to Bruiser. I really admired when I was watching her work how much, she has an office of things that she picked out. Like the room is full of things that she, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this. The room is full of things that she picked that was like part of her process was this is my room and this is my space and these costumes are really important to me. And she was really she curated a lot of the image and physicality and relationship with object with Bruiser that was really cool to see. And I think I think it took a minute, but by the end of the show, there was like a mutual, as it should, by the way, because like they didn't know me and I was this guy coming in hot-headed as I am. And I think it took a minute, but we all kind of, I think there was a respect at the end, and it was really lovely to do the final few weeks with them. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
you also have some vicious little one-liners. One is in the trailer, so I will reference that one when he's talking with his girlfriend and she's like, "Drop the case," and he is like, "No," and it is just like it's a fun kind of back and forth. For you, was there one of those like scenes or those interactions throughout the series that you were just like, it was just so much fun to be able to say that as a character and like actually have that cathartic moment with it?
I think it's any of them. Do you know what? Like, there's not one line, but any day with PJ, Byrne, and Deck, and anything we did, because I mean, Michael's scripts were uh, rigorous and really tight, and we very rarely went off them, because he's such a fantastic writer. But we would occasionally back and forward, and like not a lot of it will have made it into the edit, but it was really. I think there was one. Do you know what? There's one where he came out, and I think the joke was he says, I say he got off. Oh, what do I say? I say he got off. He got off on a charge of matricide, murdering your mother. And PJ went, he murdered a mattress. And I went, that's insensitive. And then the scene around started unfolding, and it was just this like beautiful beat of like we were kind of looking at each other like, did that just happen? Oh no, I've got one more. I've got one more. It was how many episodes have you seen?
I've seen the series.
Oh, have you? Okay, sick. So you know the snow on the ground one? Do you know the one where he goes, you wake up in the morning, the snow on the ground, you know what that means? That Michael
Yeah.
said to us it was our last take, it was the final thing. And he said, just say this and see where you end up. And PJ said, you wake up in the morning, and the snow on the ground, you know what that means. And we looked at each other and we just both said snow. And it just had this moment of like, we're the same human and this is incredible. And then so that would be definitely one of them.
Well, I can't wait for everyone to get to see this series. And so thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
It's so lovely to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
See you
one.
later.
Rachel,
Bye.
where are you? First of all, what is happening?
Um,
This
Yeah,
is sick.
I am in the Hudson, like down on Hudson in New York, the mall, because I have a screening I have to
Okay,
go to, and this was the easiest option for me.
we're
fair.
here for you. Here for you.
Thank you guys so much.
I thought you
Well,
were in Japan. Like Tokyo Ramen onto this guy. I see like
oh no, that's just the
Japanese.
I was
Muji.
Muji.
It's just Muji.
Okay, yeah.
But to start with you guys, I wanted to ask, USA has a lot of really fun lawyer shows in its canon, and they
Oh,
all have
good.
a very cool, fun vibe. So I wanted to ask you guys, how was it joining that kind of legacy with USA and like figuring out how your characters fit in with the quote unquote tone that the network has, especially with shows like this?
I mean, for me, I think it's an honor. I mean, there's like they do have an incredible canon of law shows. I think the real and it's sort of scary and like daunting, and you want to fit in with the big kids. The other big thing is we've been given a John Grisham book to bring to television, and that is a scary, daunting thing to say his words. He's the legend of law, if you will. So I mean, that wakes you up in the morning like we gotta be good. We gotta be great. We don't want to let anybody down. We don't want to let John down. We don't want to let the network down. And it's, I don't know. I kind of like that pressure personally.
Robyn or Dan, do you guys have any vibe commentary on, you know, kind of going into a show like this and figuring out the tone and where your characters fit?
Yeah.
You
You know, Michael Seitzman, like right away, I realized, man, this guy is a great leader. We are in good hands here. And so I figured, you know, when you have a great showrunner like that, you let them take care of the packaging and how everything is gonna to fit into everything, um and and then you're free to just focus on your part, and so that's what I felt. I felt he set up a lovely playground for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt it's quite cool like being like kind of like an English girl coming over and like joining this kind of USA show, which is so great. And yeah, it's kind of cool to be part of that legacy, which is really nice.
Yeah, on a literal network called
Fun.
USA. So
Exactly.
you're like just thrown
Exactly.
into it.
Go.
Well, and PJ, you brought up John Grisham. I always like asking actors this question. When you guys have something that is an adaptation, what is your guys' process through it? Do you just focus on what the script says and how your characters are in the script? Or do you guys kind of dive into the novel and see how that compares to what you guys are doing on the show?
Yeah, so I like to do the work early, and then it's just to put as much knowledge and thought and read, and I watch the movie, and Danny DeVito plays this guy, so that's another daunting, like, oh my goodness. And then honestly, I literally try to forget, and I hope that it's like gone into my like subconscious, because then you're gonna get the script, and at that point you're doing a TV show, so you've got so much more time to like delve into the character and make choices about the character that wasn't given to you, let's say in the book or the movie, and you want to start at some point start taking ownership of where this character goes, because it just, for me, that tricks my mind and makes it more believable that I become this person and this is how I'm going to react to the world around me or what's thrown at me. That's kind of how I go at it.
But yeah, and Robyn, I wanted to ask you, you brought up, you are not the US citizen within the show, but it's
What?
very fun. What? It is really funny to kind of watch British law shows versus ours because it is a very different system. Did you have any kind of learning curves when you were coming into a show like this and seeing how the American legal system kind of differs from what you knew?
Yeah, I probably did. What would be different? Yeah. I mean, it just feels so like the picking the jury and stuff like that. I don't think that's a thing in England. I had to do jury duty when I was like 20, and I was like, oh my God. But it wasn't like a pick, you were just on the jury. That's like a different thing. Yeah, I learned a lot about law. Yeah.
As someone who just got you're gonna have to eventually get summoned piece of paper. The biggest fear it's the biggest fear in the world.
Is it? Yeah.
And Dan, I have such a serious question to ask you. You make walking with an oxygen mask look cool in this show somehow. So
Really?
how do those little things where you're like, I gotta look cool doing something that people are 100% gonna be like, how did that look cool? How does that like work in your brain when you're kind of in the moment of a scene and trying to figure out what to do?
Man, I guess I'm just really cool.
You are, Dan.
Yeah.
I make walking with the tubes in my nose look cool.
Very cool.
You hear that? Lucas.
I want to go to a club and see people with like oxygen tanks in their nose
You
now,
know,
and a
But
glow
like a
stick in their
silence
mouth,
disco.
like glow stick
Yeah.
oxygen tube.
Let
I
me tell
would-
you something. Like you get enough oxygen flowing. Woo! You get
Yeah.
a
You
good buzz
feeling it?
going there. Yeah. I don't know how I did that. You know what I was doing? I had here's a little secret. I was doing some animal work, and I don't know if it made me look cool, but you know how I was like, ooh, this guy's like a Komodo dragon, and you know how the Komodo dragon has like the weird things hanging off of him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's the weird things, the nose tubes. That's what was in my head. A little glimpse of that weirdness.
No,
Yeah,
I
but
love
that
it.
works, dude.
Well, and you said animal work, and I always like to ask really actory questions because I studied theater in college. And
Nice.
so I want to ask you guys, what for you is
Where'd you go?
I went to
Where'd
Appalachian
you
State in Boone,
go?
North
Yeah,
Carolina,
let's go. Let's go, Appalachian State. Let's go.
North
I
Carolina.
know it. Yeah.
Nice.
the Carolinas. But
Yeah.
it does always make me wonder, like, what for you guys is the biggest kind of trick to acting and your technique that really helps you when you're trying to figure out who your character is and how you want to exist within their bodies.
I love the shoes, to be honest with you. I feel like when I put the shoes on, it truly becomes like whoever I am as the character. And oddly enough, my character wears these New Balances the whole show because I think Deck is like simplicity of life. He like cares about food and the law and the clothing. The shoes are sort of second nature, so he's just kind of always wearing sneakers because he's kind of a man on the hunt at all times. And everyone, and since he's not a full blown lawyer, since he's a para lawyer, if you will, all the real lawyers wear like the hard like wingtips or whatever, and he doesn't. So I think it's the shoes for me always.
I think for me it's kind of I like to keep it quite separate until kind of when they kind of say turn over, like those kind of seconds when it's like exactly that moment. I think I just like to lock in on like who I am, what I'm doing, why am I here, what's happening. I think they're like the moments, that kind of 30 seconds while everyone's getting ready to go. I really like to look at them all.
And is yours animal work, Dan?
No, I mean I went to acting school and they give you all these different tools to use. I usually start like Uta Hagen style, sense memory style, like try to see what I have in common with the character first. But then if you have a character like Melvin, who you're like, damn, I would never do that. Then you go to animal work and stuff like that. That's yeah.
Yeah, I love that. We were Meisner based, so I'm always like doing the weird little like connections and all that kind of stuff. But for my last question, I just want to ask you guys really quickly, like whenever you have a show like this and it's finally going out and people are going to see it and experience it and take their own opinions on it, what for you is the most exciting part about kind of wrapping up the press tour and letting fans get to see the show you guys created?
I think with a show like this, where there is so many like at the end of the episode, you want to know more. There's so many like new little cliffhangers to kind of go on. I think it's like seeing what the audience think is going to happen. And knowing yourself, you're like, nope, that's wrong. We're like, yeah, they've got it, kind of thing.
I think our show, I think how people like are consuming information and there's so much data and news and everything's changing. We're on our phones, we're watching, on our Instagram and everything's fast. I think this show finds a nice way though to sort of engage where we are in the world right now. There's like 5 different shows going on if you notice in our show. It's like his relationship with Robyn. It's like we have a murderer here. Then there's my relationship with Rudy, my relationship with Bruiser. Like, and then we're going against this huge hospital. So there's a lot happening in our show, and we're always leaving you on a bit of a cliffhanger. Now, I've seen all the episodes, and I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm also like, this is cool. Wait, what? So if I've seen it and I'm still excited, I think that's my sort of tell of like, I think we might, knock on wood, have something special here. Please.
What about you, Dan? Is there anything you're just like, I'm excited that people are going to see X, Y, and Z?
What was that weird? I have not seen it. I haven't seen anything put together yet. So I'm so excited to just, watch all the episodes and see how it turns out. And I haven't played a character like this before, so I'm curious how people are gonna take that. And I mean, I there were so many different storylines going on, so I really paid attention to my storyline. So I'm really excited to see what's going on with everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for everyone else and Dan to get to see the show. And so thank you guys for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Rachel.
you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm in the Hudson Mall down in on Hudson by the river in New York.
Oh my God, I love it.
I had to run after, so I was like, well, the mall it is.
Here we are.
Yeah, in front of the Muji. But to start, I wanted to ask with actors, adaptations are such an interesting kind of ball game because sometimes people want to know everything they can about the thing they're working on, and then they read the book and they watch movies to figure it out. Other times they want to come in fresh. Where do you kind of fall on that spectrum of taking on an adaptation like The Rainmaker and seeing, how fans love this story both from the novel and the original film?
Honestly, my approach to this was I read the novel. I watched the film multiple times, mostly because a lot of my family members were like, "Oh, I haven't seen it. Let's watch it." I was like, "Okay, here we are again." The fourth time I've seen this movie, which didn't really help me that much. I think the only thing that I really got from Mickey Rourke was like his flamboyant sort of attire, which kind of helped with Bruiser's wardrobe a bit, you know. That's really all I got from him. There were some things that I did in the audition and this, it was before I saw the film, where I had like my feet up on a desk and I had my arm kind of back on the chair. And then I watched the movie and I was like, oh my God, he's doing the same thing. So I feel like I was channeling him on some level. One thing I did with Bruiser, and it's very similar to what I did with Once Upon a Time, when you're portraying these characters that have been seen before and beloved. And now the Evil Queen she's like iconic, right? So, and there wasn't a lot to draw from when I did that role because it was, I think, Susan Sarandon and that was it. I think who played her in Enchanted and then the cartoon, the animated series movie. So with this, it was like, all right, I need to focus on how to make Bruiser different and to really sort of develop her from scratch with what was on the page and finding her mannerisms, finding how she lives in her body and tapping into this sort of masculinity within myself because this is a woman who's grown up around a lot of men and she's in a man's world. So how does she survive as a woman in this man's world, right? So that's sort of how I approached her more than anything. And she's super sassy, super ballsy, unapologetic, smart, sharp. Doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks of her. So she has this toughness, this confidence. She's but there's also a lot of room for her to grow. And with Rudy Baylor coming into her life, it's really he inspires her in ways that I don't think she was anticipating.
Yeah, and now you can play any Mickey Rourke character that's ever existed. You're just like, I got it. I know how to channel Mickey Rourke.
I'm gonna get in the wrestling ring now. Let's go. Come on.
Wrestler Part 2.
Yep, Wrestler Part 2. Let's go.
Iron Man 2. You got them all.
Well, don't we follow like SmackDown or something? All right, I'm gonna be smacking someone down, not only on the show but also in the ring.
It's you versus Mickey Rourke. Well, and so with a show like this too, I think it's so fun because USA has this long history of lawyer shows, and I do like that they all have like tonally they feel like USA shows. You're watching it, you're like, yes, this is what I come to USA for. But this show is also so original in the stories and the characters. How was it kind of filling out that both the vibe of a USA show while still being as original as the Rainmaker is?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the thing. Like I try not to get too influenced by what USA's already has done or what they're doing. I just really try to sort of, bubble the show in its own like, the Rainmaker is the Rainmaker. I'm playing this role. If I get like too caught up in all the other stuff, it just throws me off. But if I focus on character, and the story, then there's a lot more freedom to explore. And weirdly enough, it kind of all falls in line with what they're doing anyhow. Or it's going to be something new and fresh, which, I'm hoping, because that's what we want. And that's what, we need in the world is a new perspective. This is a modern take on the Rainmaker, and that's what's so cool about it. And part of that modern take is making Bruiser a woman, and so a lot of like what I did was I did a lot of studying and watching every legal drama out there and taking a little bit from Susan Sarandon and The Client and, a little bit from Aaron Brockovich, and just sort of then tapping into like my own sort of understanding of the character and diving into Bruiser and finding my own impulses that came to me, just by saying her words. So, and then there's so much discovered on the day, with these wonderful actors that I get to work opposite of. And then the environment has so much to bring to it too. So it was less like it's like when I played the evil queen, I couldn't get caught up in like the theatrics of what it used to be. I have to make it fresh. And that's what we're doing with the Rainmaker, the TV series, it is a fresh sort of perspective and view of a story that we already know and love.
Yeah. And so what we've learned is if you need a Susan Sarandon stand-in or a Mickey Rourke stand-in, they can just call you up and you've got it, like, you got it on lock.
I think we should just all be in a movie playing the same character.
Yeah, just swap it out and we're all like, what's going on? It's like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's like that there's a movie that's like that. It's you guys. But I studied acting in college, so I always like asking people questions that are very specific to their process. And so with a character like this, what was the thing that kind of helped you the most understand who Bruiser is? Was it a costume, or did you have a song that you listened to, or what was it that really kind of just helped you get into who Bruiser is as a woman and in that business that she finds herself in?
Part of it was her costumes and her physical behavior. So, like how she sits in her chair, how she can walk around in a bra in her firm. I can't even, it's her law office, really. It's in a taco hut. Let's get real. Okay, they're not that fancy. Which also was so great is like she has this sort of kind of trashy vibe to her. She's a little bit disheveled and a little bit like her buttons are off. And I like that about her. It sort of told me more about like how she wakes up in the morning, how she just doesn't really care about like making sure her hair looks great. Now, of course, Lana does playing Bruiser. I'm like, make sure my hair looks great. But as Bruiser, like she doesn't have time for this, and there's some freedom in that with this character. And sort of picking up on her cadence when she speaks, I think there's a word that I kept throwing in there, and it was a simple word. It was okay. So when it's like her way of teaching. Like, are you getting this? Are you getting it? You keeping up with me? And there's that kind of street like mafia approach to her that she takes with Rudy, and I love that about her.
I do too. I can't wait for everyone to get to see your take on Bruiser. And so thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, likewise, Rachel. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Have a great
Stay
one.
cool out there.
Bye.
Okay, bye.